We just got our second batch of the college football playoff rankings, so let's talk about them. But before we get to today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. So before I go into my personal thoughts on this week's college football playoff rankings, let's compare this week's rankings with the AP poll and see how similar and different both rankings are. When looking at the top 5, both the playoff committee and the AP poll got it exactly identical, but when you look at 6 through 10, that's where things have a major shakeup. Outside of number 8, which is Notre Dame, the rest of 6 through 10 is entirely different. BYU and Tennessee are flipped, while Miami is ranked number 9 by the playoff committee and number 12 in the AP poll. The playoff committee is also higher on Alabama, Ole Miss, and Georgia, as they have them ranked one spot higher than the AP poll does. A lot of the other changes happen once we get to the number 16 ranking. In the AP poll, they have Army ranked at 16, whereas the playoff committee still isn't giving Army any respect, as they moved them up only one spot to 24. The playoff committee has Kansas State at 16 compared to the AP poll that has them at 20. AP poll voters are higher on Clemson than the committee, as Clemson was number 17 in the AP poll and they're number 20 in the playoff rankings. Colorado and Washington State are still next to each other, and they're each one spot higher in the rankings compared to the AP poll. Then when you look at 21 through 25, it's pretty much the same, with a couple teams swapped here and there. The committee is higher on South Carolina, as they're ranked 21 compared to the AP poll, where they were ranked 23. You also look at Louisville, who came in ranked number 19 in the playoff committee, whereas they were ranked number 22 by the AP poll. So for the most part, when looking at both of these rankings, nothing too drastic outside of Army being completely disrespected by the playoff committee, and I guess the playoff committee being a lot higher on Miami than the AP poll voters were. Alright, now that we've compared the two, let me give my thoughts on these updated rankings. First off, I love that Indiana and BYU got more respect this week. They each moved up 3 spots in the rankings, because last week, the fact that they were ranked 8 and 9 respectively, that was absolutely insane. Now, I know it doesn't mean a whole lot right now, but personally, I would actually rank BYU ahead of Indiana. I know when I did my top 25 yesterday, I actually had Indiana ranked one spot above the Cougars, but I want to reverse it right now, because BYU, actually, they should be the number 3 team in the country. I know a lot of people like to talk about strength of schedule and how all these teams haven't played anybody, but not only is BYU undefeated, they took down Kansas State, who the committee ranked at 16, and they took down SMU, who the committee has ranked at 14. That is 2 top 16 victories, and you're still undefeated. I have no idea why BYU isn't ranked higher, and it's honestly a joke that they're behind Texas and Penn State. Speaking of Texas and Penn State, a lot of people in the comments of my top 25 were hounding me because I was so high on Indiana despite them not playing anybody at all this year. I mean, for the Hoosiers, their best wins are Michigan and Nebraska, and that's not saying a whole lot. But if you look at Texas and Penn State, 2 teams that already have a loss on their schedule, who were their best wins this year? I mean, you look at Texas's schedule, I think their best win so far in the year is probably against Vanderbilt, and that was by 3 points. So if your best win is against Vanderbilt, is it all that impressive of a win? I mean, they are 6-4 for crying out loud, so it's not like they're a fringe playoff team. And then you look at Penn State, what's their best win so far this year? They beat a top 25 Illinois team when they were ranked inside the AP poll back in September, but Illinois is not ranked anymore, so as of right now, the Nittany Lions don't have any ranked wins. I guess when looking at their schedule, Illinois would probably still be their best win. So you can't get upset at Indiana and BYU while talking about strength of schedule without acknowledging that both Penn State and Texas, they haven't beaten anybody this year. The only reason those teams are ranked where they are is because of their name and their name alone. The one time Penn State played a really good team this year, they lost to Ohio State, and they didn't look like a good team at all. And with Texas, the only time they played a good team, they got absolutely embarrassed at home by Georgia. So I think it's an absolute joke that the playoff committee has them ranked at 3 and 4, because again, we're not basing them off what they've done this season, we're putting them there based on their name, and that's the only reason for that. My next criticism, I think Miami dropping to number 9, that is still way too high for the Hurricanes. They had a number of close games, and they got embarrassed to a team that couldn't even throw the ball. And because their conference is still so bad, Miami not only is ranked number 9, as the way things things stand right now, they would get an automatic bid as the number 4 team. So I guess it doesn't really matter whether you had them 9 or 12 because they would still get that spot, but I think having Miami at number 9, that's kind of laughable right now. And the reason for that is because the wins Alabama and Ole Miss are coming off of, those are some really damn good wins, and honestly right now, if those teams were to match up, I think Alabama and Ole Miss would take down Miami and probably wipe the floor with them. So I would have the Hurricanes ranked at least at number 11 or 12. When looking at the rest of these rankings, things are going to get really interesting from the 15 to 20 range because all those teams are still technically alive to get one of those last bids. Texas A&M, Kansas State, Colorado, if they're able to win out, they're going to be right there on the door knocking of being a final playoff team. Then you look at Washington State, despite not having a conference championship game, they are only 6 spots away from being inside the top 12, and if a lot of these teams in front of them, including Boise State, SMU, Texas A&M, Kansas State, Colorado, if those teams lose the next couple of weeks, Washington State can quietly climb right back up. Outside of that though, no real complaints because the teams that are ranked 20 through 25, it's likely not going to matter all that much. I can't even remember if I said this at the beginning of the video, but in case I didn't, Army being ranked at 24, that's an absolute joke. Again, I don't care about strength of schedule, I don't care how easy it is. They're 9-0 on the season. If it was easy to go undefeated playing easy teams, a lot of teams that have the easiest strength of schedule, they'd be going undefeated, but they're not. So it takes a lot to go undefeated, it takes a lot to go 9-0, and the fact that they only move up 1 spot in the playoff rankings, I think that's an absolute joke. I'm not saying Army should be ranked inside the top 12 or anything, but they definitely should be ranked around the 16 to 20-ish range. 24, man, that's an absolute joke. Another joke is the fact that my Arizona State Sun Devils are still nowhere to be found in these playoff rankings. They've been one of the biggest surprises in all of college football this season. They've been rolling these last couple of weeks, but it's okay because they take on number 16 Kansas State this weekend. After they knock off the Wildcats, maybe the playoff committee will finally open their eyes and give the Sun Devils the recognition they deserve. So as of right now, the 4 teams that would have the first round bye are Oregon, Texas, BYU, and Miami. The first round matchups would be Ohio State hosting Boise State, Penn State hosting Ole Miss, Indiana hosting Alabama, and Tennessee hosting Notre Dame. Now, for those of you that are interested in this kind of thing, they've actually already released hypothetical lines if these were to be our matchups. Ohio State would be a 19-point favorite over Boise State. Penn State and Ole Miss, that game would be a pick'em. Alabama would be a 5-point favorite on the road at Indiana, while Tennessee would be a 2-point favorite at home against Notre Dame. With the exception of the Ohio State-Boise State game, these 3 playoff matches would be expected to be a really, really close game, and that's all we can ask for these playoff matches. Well, that wraps it up for this weekend's playoff rankings. What were your thoughts on the top 25? Did the playoff committee have a team ranked too high, or a team that was ranked too low, or did they have a team that wasn't even inside the top 25 that should have been in there? Whoever it is, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. I'm posting college football videos all season long, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm, and it helps share this video and my channel with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.